2 hours ago, Kyle arrived at the bar.
Hey, what's everyone drinking?
30 minutes ago, Kyle got his friends another round of drinks.
Cheers!
5 minutes ago, Kyle decided to drive home drunk. A minute ago, a law enforcement officer pulled up behind Kyle.
Sir, have you been drinking tonight?
A chain of events that began 2 hours ago is about to change Kyle's whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Happy holidays. Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a happy holiday.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome into another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I'm Jacob Milham, and I'm already smiling and chuckling because the guest that the illustrious Jeremy Greco has lined up for us today has already taken us on quite the verbal journey, hasn't he, Jeremy?
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite guests, maybe my favorite guest that we have on every year. So this is always my favorite part.
That it is. I promise we don't just keep Dan Szymborski in like a hip pocket for one time a year. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today for another ZiPS related Royals chat.
Well, thanks for having me. After that high praise, I feel like this is kind of a disappointment to everyone, but But the ZiPS projections are not mean to the Royals this time.
No.
So I get to live a little this time.
It's crazy. It's wild. So, hey, folks, if this is your first time hearing of Dan, he's a senior writer over at Fangraphs, formerly of ESPN. I can't count how many different podcasts I've heard you talk on over the years, and you can find them on social media. But Dan, I would say your crown, like baseball related jewel, is the ZiPS projection system. Would you agree with that, or is there something else larger?
That seems to be the case. It's something I kind of fell into by accident 20 years ago, and it kind of turned out to work better than I expected. And then people gave me money for it, so that kept it going. And so somehow I am I don't want to say important. That sounds really full of myself. But I am a person. I am one of the people in the analytics community.
There you go.
Of all the people in sabermetrics, I am one of them.
Huzzah. All right. I love it. Folks, we did also have an article come out about this on royalsreview.com. So if you want to go check that out, that is up on the website. But what Dan does every single year, there's a ZiPS projection article for each team. I think this is year 22 to be precise, Dan, if I'm doing my math correctly. How are things looking in year 22?
Well, so far so good. It hasn't gotten too unwieldy that it overwhelms my ability to maintain it, which is always a possibility because I'm more of a math guy than a coder guy. I share that same problem with Nate Silver when Baseball's Prospectus tried to convert Pacoda to Python. Apparently it was a real mess that took him like a year. And it would probably be even worse if I had to hire someone to do that. But no, when we're talking about Kansas City, at least, ZiPS isn't always happy about the Royals, but the ZiPS is pretty happy about where the Royals are right now.
And it was pretty on point when it comes to a win-loss projection from last year. They were projected for 83 wins last year this time, and they ended up winning 82. I mean, Jeremy, I think that's a pretty accurate projection, if you will.
It's better than my projection was. I thought they might win 90.
Dan, is that what you're thinking for the Royals this year? 90 wins?
That's probably a little aggressive, but I do last year, my big complaint was that they looked at their outfield and just kind of went, whatever, just roll with it.
Yeah.
You know, like when you go to a restaurant and they poison you and then you decide to get another meal there the next day. That's kind of what that was. You know, they said, okay, we have Melendez, we have Renfroe, and we're just going to do it again. And that did not work.
Sure,
it did not
at all work. And this year, I mean, I don't like everything they've done. Like I'm pretty lukewarm on at least one of the outfielders we'll probably talk about.
Ooh.
But I think they've been taking a more active approach to it this year. And that is encouraging because they have a lot of the pieces of a really good playoff team, but there's holes around that.
Yeah.
It's like watching like a house that's being renovated that is looking really good. And you go into the kitchen and there's just like a hole in the floor and no oven. That's kind of where they are. And you need to have an oven unless you want to do DoorDash every day.
I would rather not personally. That sounds very expensive at the end of the day, Dan. But I mean, you get paid those Fangraphs bucks. I just get paid in Pop-Tarts over here.
What's your favorite Pop-Tart? See, I have some Pop-Tart opinions.
Oh man, I'm simple. I love strawberry Pop-Tarts. I really
But do you like
do.
them frosted or unfrosted?
Frosted.
I like the unfrosted Pop-Tart. Pop-Tarts are too sweet. I like the unfrosted Pop-Tarts and the unfrosted strawberry and the unfrosted brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts.
Jeremy, what about you?
I'm a toaster strudel guy, honestly. So I
You see,
have to trade my Pop-Tarts in. It's like a 2-to-1 ratio, so it doesn't.
Eh.
It's not a very good conversion rate, but
Toaster strudel makes you work for it. You have to open up the little icing packet and kind of squeeze it on.
well, but that means that if I'm not feeling sweet today, I've already got the non-frosted version. You know, I've got the option.
Okay, well that creates a very dark question. Are you saving the icing and doubling it up and making super strudel, or are you accumulating icing packets in your fridge that will never be used?
You know, I don't think that that's a question I have to answer right now. I think
I don't know. I
get
think
to
that
plead the
people
fifth
want to
on that
know.
one.
I think people want to know about the icing.
We need to know, Jeremy. But I
There's
can't
no
attest.
There's no criminal risk, so you have no right to silence. I think.
Listen, let's just say that my freezer has more frozen soft pretzel salt packets and frosting packets in it than it has soft pretzels and toaster strudels.
There, I think that's a very political answer from you there, Jeremy. Good job. But back to these ZiPS projections. So Dan, can you? I mean, you're saying like this is liking what the Royals have right now. I do want to preface this. I think the article came out without accounting for the Royals' recent acquisitions. You know, getting Mears and Collins from the Brewers and signing Lane Thomas in free agency. Do you think those three guys coming in really move the needle on your projections?
I think Thomas is the weakest candidate. I'm just not super into that, but I do like getting Collins. I think he is a piece. He's not someone that you're going to give 600 plate appearances to. You have to be a little careful with the matchups, but he does have some value. Now, of course, given that they're the Brewers, I'm sure that Zerpa is going to be like the best reliever ever because that's what the Brewers do. But you can't just do what the Brewers do.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching Rumpelstiltskin turn straw into gold, it doesn't mean just because you know he can do it that you can do it too.
Yeah, it doesn't mean hoarding straw will help you any.
Yeah, it's like, well, I saw him do it, so I can do it too, and then you just have straw and no firstborn.
Yeah, and that was kind of my initial reaction because I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, trading reliever to the Brewers." I was like, well, whatever he does with Milwaukee, however amazing he ends up being, that wasn't happening in Kansas City. So it doesn't hurt Kansas City. It's you give the straw to Rumpelstiltskin, he gets gold, great. You're only out straw. It didn't really hurt you any.
Yeah, it's like me having like exercise equipment. I'm not going to use it. So if someone wants to buy it for a good price, even if it's less than it's worth, it's still more than I'll get out of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are some things I really like about Zerpa. I mean, he has a 97-mile-per-hour sinker. He's the kind of guy you really think probably could be a bigger K guy. For some reason, for a guy with his, some of the explosiveness of his stuff, he doesn't miss a lot of bats. And that's kind of the thing you think, hey, maybe someone else will figure it out. And that's always risky to do with a pitcher because you can't necessarily figure out everybody. The Royals are good at finding their own relievers. The pitching is in a pretty good place, but the outfield needs help. And I think that we can at least say that the Royals are not good at finding their own outfielders.
No.
And Collins does have some value. So I do like that. I think Mears is fine. So I don't have super complaints. I mean, Mears, he's a guy who's had some pretty good peripheral numbers in the majors. His FIP the last 3 years, I think, is below 4 each year, although one was a short one, but that was with the Rockies, I think. Sorry, I'm going from memory here, but I think it was a good trade.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
It felt kind of like the Royals swapped an underperforming reliever for another underperforming reliever. And oh, by the way, they got an outfielder who they can give 400, maybe even 500 at-bats to, and maybe he shouldn't have that many at-bats. Looking at the depth chart that was in left field before that was John Ray, Nick Lofton, Dyron Blanco, and Tyler Tolbert. So, those guys should have even fewer at-bats.
Yeah. I mean, this was a team that was playing a pretty done Mark Canha. At times.
Yeah, that was I don't want to hear that name anytime soon. I don't have the Royals uniform hanging up in the closet anymore. Looking at these projections, I want to go position players first, and then we'll go pitchers. Just how your articles lined up here. I'm very surprised to see some of these numbers. I think especially from the outfield after, just the years of underperformance that we've had from the outfielders as a whole. Your primary options as of this publishing were Raven left, Isbell in center, and Caglione in right, with unsurprisingly Kyle Isbell once again leading the pack in projected WAR. I am curious, like, is this all defensive, do you think? Like, is there any room for, is this the spot where there's room for improvement for the Royals? You talk about missing holes. Is this the hole to fill?
I think if you have an opportunity, you take it. I think one thing that's really helped is first, of course, ZiPS absolutely hated some of the guys I had last year who are no longer there anymore. And you look at some of the players who are there, there's at least some kind of plausible use for them. Like like John Rave was not good in his time in the majors by any stretch of the imagination. But he's also a guy that has taken a step forward in AAA, who might be someone you could put as a part timer. And he's young enough that it still matters. He's not young, but he's on the right side of 30. And those are the kind of guys that will frequently work out. I mean, I'm not excited about Lane Thomas. I think that the Royals should be looking for people who will be the next Lane Thomas rather than the current Lane Thomas. But when you get a bunch of interesting guys who are in their 20s, who do something well, a lot of times you'll just be surprised by that, and you want to do that, and that's the thing why I hated even before the performance. Like when we talk about Renfroe last year, and I hate to pick on the guy, but
There.
he wasn't young. He didn't really do that much well by the time he was in Kansas City. So the question is like, why? What's the upside? For you look at the outfielders that the Royals generally have now, there is some cognizable upside, even if it's not necessarily, a slam dunk or they're going to get a great projection. But, you have enough interesting things in the works. Some of them will in the mix. Sometimes some of these will work out.
Yeah.
I was just gonna. Speaking of the outfield, ZiPS seems to really, really like Jack Caglione next year. He had a pretty awful debut when all was said and done in 2025. The ZiPS projection has him at 112 OPS. I know when we were looking at this Sunday, we were talking about Jack Caglione because it's a Royals podcast. You got to talk about Jack Caglione, and his 2080 split was like even in kind of almost the worst case scenario, he was projected to be only a little below average as a hitter. What's going on with Jack Caglione?
Well, one of the things is that ZiPS does have its own little method of expected stats. And while it didn't think he was actually good in the majors by any stretch of the imagination, he did have, a good barrel percentage. He did hit pretty hard at times, at a decent hard hit percentage. ZiPS thought that his slugging percentage should have been more around 400 and his batting average WAR in the 230, 240 range, which wouldn't have been great, but it would have looked a lot better than what they actually got. So he likely underperformed. When you look at what he did in the minors last year, and even when you adjust for leagues that he played in, because AAA has pretty insane offense right now, he still performed well relative to the league. His WRC plus was like 170 or 180 something. He had a pretty interesting year. And I also appreciate that the Royals gave him that opportunity. I think a lot of the teams in the past might have given up on him temporarily quickly or played too many games, dogging him up and down. They stuck him in the lineup. I think he was their best option at that time. It didn't work out in 2025, but they stuck with him. And they haven't abandoned him or traded him to a Sabre-friendly team for pennies on the dollars and let him be the next big Rays DH or something. I think they've done it pretty well. And, I was pretty hard on a lot of the Dayton Moore era Royals. I mean, I made cartoons about that.
Hey, so I do have a question about another. We're talking about minor league numbers. I do have a question about a guy who hasn't even made his AAA debut, but ZiPS does really like him in Carson Rockefort. I mean, he had a solid showing in the Arizona Fall League, but I know for most fans, it still feels like that he's a ways away from the show. So how would you rationalize to them, like, hey, there is a path for this guy to have nearly 3 FWAR in 2026?
I mean, you look where he's hit in the except for his high A debut, he's hit pretty well since being drafted. He went to he went to a Southern college, didn't he? Which one did he go to?
He went to what was it? Was it ULM? No,
University of Louisiana at Lafayette.
Okay, so
Lafayette. That's what
I
it
wasn't
was.
thinking that. Uh, but you look at it, he has a pretty good mix of power and speed. He's got a pretty wide range of skills. He could draw a walk. I mean, he strikes out a little too much, but I mean, most players do. It's a that's a thing that
Yeah.
happens today. He could improve on contact a bit. His contact rate was pretty low in the on all levels in the minors. But I mean, he's interesting. And I know I say the word interesting a lot, but I think when you're talking about guys who aren't elite prospects, you want interesting prospects who do something well and then see what works. I mean, and I hit on that a lot, but he's one of those guys who could be good. Now, I wouldn't necessarily skip him over AAA. He's a little old for the level. He didn't really hit in high A until he repeated. So I would want to see how he did in AAA. I wouldn't say let's start with him in the outfield. But I think that if he's hitting well, I think he's someone that you do talk about promoting in season if you have the need. And I expect the Royals probably aren't going to be in a situation where if they think someone will help the offense, that they have the privilege of being able to turn them down.
Yeah, especially in the outfield when you look at that. Is that kind of the similar story for Tyler Tolbert? Like I'm looking and for everyone's understanding here, if I'll have the ZiPS article linked down in the podcast description below. It has all the numbers in there, and if you're looking at the 80th percentile, I think Dan, it's safe to say like 80th percentile is like best case outcome. Like that's what you're looking at for a really, really great season from that player. While the 20th percentile outcome is a bad season from that respective player. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the 80th percentile for Tyler Tolbert. And, you know, this is a guy that most Royals fans have seen as just a pinch running option.
All right, people, serious question time. Did you know that driving high is considered driving under the influence? That's right. Driving under the influence of marijuana is against the law in every state. That means even in states where marijuana is legal. That means driving high could get you a DUI. And if you think law enforcement officers can't tell when you're driving high, well, you're wrong. If you're high, they can tell. Your friends can tell. Your coworkers can tell. Even your parents can tell. Everyone can tell. So what makes you think that law enforcement officers don't know when you're driving high? You'd be wrong. They can tell too. Driving under the influence of marijuana can slow your response time and change how you perceive time and speed. So even if you think you're fine to drive when you're high, you're not. Because the bottom line is, if you feel different, you drive different, and driving high is driving under the influence. So remember, drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
This is Michael Rosenbaum. Hey, folks, let me tell you that drinking and driving is a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI, because legal fees and time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You could face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world, whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. Always plan for a safe ride home. The only decision that will change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. It's never worth it to drive drunk. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
But I mean, he's up there. He grades really well in the projected defensive metrics. Is this just a guy who will find his value on the base paths in ZiPS?
I think what it's going to come down to him is just how, I think if he improves with contact, I think that he does have some upside batting average wise, because he does have the speed to support that. But he isn't a great contact guy. If I recall correctly, his rates in the minors were kind of in the low 70s, which you do not want to see from a minor league hitter who needs to make contact, because, you know, like Willie Mays Hayes in Major League, you have to make contact when you have speed, or it doesn't really do much. Right now, he's someone I would think about more as kind of a fourth, fifth outfielder type, especially because he's not young either. He is in his late 20s. He's not 22 or 23, in which case I'd be a lot more optimistic. But he might have a place at some point with the Royals. And that, again, goes back to what I've been hitting on, is that they have, you know, guys that do something well.
There you go. Jeremy, are there any other position players you want to talk about? I got one more that I want to talk about, but I don't want to take all the oxygen in this conversation.
Yeah, so we talk about Cags, and as Royals fans, I think if we think about Cags, we think about Carter. So Carter Jensen, I noticed his projections, despite the fact that he had a tremendous September, not quite as good as Caglione's. I was just wondering if you could walk us through how that happens, and should Royals fans still be pretty excited about him? I mean, he's projected for 3 WAR. It looks like.
Yeah, that doesn't sound disappointing to me. How dare you,
But
sir?
he's only got a 100 WR OPS plus. Excuse me. I always get confused because whenever I'm at Fangraphs, I'm looking for WRC plus, and then when I get ZiPS, it's OPS plus.
Catchers are weird. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but catchers have really weird offensive development curves. So ZiPS does tend to be conservative. Steamer had him pretty close to the same OPS plus, so they might be seeing the same thing. It's just the physical stress of catching, I just think, has a weird kind of developmental pattern for players. Caglione can really concentrate on just hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Carter Jensen has to have more irons in the fire than that, especially because he has, there's an incumbent at catcher who has a pretty good hold on his roster spot at his starting position somewhere. So he has to, focus on his defense quite a bit more than another player in his position would have to. I do think that it's a pretty solid projection, and he's very young, so there's still a lot of upside.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeremy, just to be clear, that's who I was going to hit on, because this is, and like I know, Dan, I'm sure you'll be the first one to say it. ZiPS is not a crystal ball. It is not going to tell us exactly what happens, right?
No, I think at this point, if I claimed that it was like a time machine, I think people would have already pretty much discovered that it's not. It's you can peer through the future a little bit, but it's really, really foggy, and there's a huge error bars. ZiPS is calibrated pretty well. The right amount of people overperform and underperform, but it's still very uncertain.
Yep. Are we good to move on to the rotation? Because I think this is
Did we not talk about Bobby Wick Jr. and Michael?
Because
we're so used to it.
Yeah, we're just so used to him being a superstar, Dan. I mean, but shoot,
7
ZiPS
WAR
loves
would be
him.
a bad season for him.
Yeah,
is my understanding.
Yeah, that's a down season.
So I just didn't want to even talk about that. I was like, man, you're saying Bobby Witt's going to suck next year.
I should, just to try to rile you up. But when you look at Michael Garcia, he's a fascinating player because he was always this guy that had this weirdly high hard hit rate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it didn't actually turn into anything. But in 2025, it turned into something. And ZiPS is actually pretty confident about him maintaining not, 6 wins, but being an all-star level player. That the fact that they extended him with the club option through 2031, I believe, is a really good sign for the Royals.
And it was like I've heard from several people like this was a fair deal, right? I still getting Michael Garcia for this length of time on this AAV still feels like a very Royals friendly deal in my mind, Dan.
But he did well. He didn't do like Ozzy Albies bad. I still feel bad for Albies, who got like paid less than, whose name I can't forget, the kind of crappy Phillies utility guy who they signed forever.
Oh, man.
Why did I know his name?
I'm blanking on that name.
I'm also blanking.
See, I'm getting old. Names slip me more than they used to.
But anyways, all right. Words are escaping me right now, gentlemen, because I'm here looking at the starting
Scott
rotation.
Kingery.
Yeah.
Scott, sorry.
Wow, man, that is a dig.
I couldn't. It just popped into my head now.
Well, Jeremy, I'm sure when you see as many baseball names as Dan does on any given calendar year.
We were talking about this before we started recording. We included in every Team ZiPS projection are near age comps for both the hitters and the pitchers. And I look at this list of names and I'm like, I don't know who any of these guys are. And then I can just drop a name and Dan can give me a little tidbit about him.
Yeah. I made sure when I wrote my piece that no one cast any shade on Dickie Thon. Because he was terrific before he got plunked by Mike Torres.
Yeah, I was not expecting to see Dickie Thon in there, but
I also read a little about Caglione's top comp, a guy named Costin Shockley, who literally nobody had ever heard of. And so I actually hadn't heard of him myself. And I researched the guy, and he was a hitting prospect. He was called up by the Angels. He did not hit well initially. The GM told him they weren't going to send him down, and they did send him down to Seattle, which was a minor league team at the time. And he had just moved his family across the country. And then he said, "Okay, no, I'm not doing it. I'm done." And then he just left, like at 23. He just walked away.
Wow. I couldn't imagine doing that. But that era of baseball, sorry, I just got done reading a book about Moonlight Graham, like hearing about like the Wild West era of how, teams would send players down to the minor leagues and they would just do whatever they want. It kind of seemed like that's still extended into the 60s.
I love 19th century baseball stories because people who watch baseball today, they don't have a real visualization of what 19th century baseball was like. It was like half sport, half exhibition. Well, I guess a third sport, a third exhibition, and a third like carnival show. Where you had all sorts of weird, like you had guys like the only Nolan. He required that he was called the only Nolan.
Jeez.
And
The world.
He played for a team called the Wilmington Quicksteps. And that is a team that dissolved after pregame warmups one day before the game started because the paid attendance was 0. So the owner disbanded the team before the game and left everybody out of town where they were because they weren't in Wilmington. Some of them crossed over and joined the team they were playing, and the others, the town actually put together a collection to be able to get those players to be able to go home.
Oh my goodness.
That is insane.
That's 19th century baseball for you in a nutshell, where a team would just kind of say, give up, like, warm-ups aren't going that well. Okay, fine. We're not a baseball team anymore.
That is
like,
crazy.
Imagine seeing that today. Like, the Marlins start warming up. You see Sandy Alcantara warming up, and then everyone just calls him off the field, and everyone just leaves. And like, no, the Marlins aren't playing baseball anymore.
You did pick the correct team, though. That would be the team, unless it was the Athletics.
Now, you see, yeah, because the Marlins, I could see, like, them having some loans with a lot of secured thing, and, like, the repo guys come during the game. Like, you see them drive the truck onto the field, and they say, sorry.
Home run sculpture's ours now.
Yeah, we're taking Otto Lopez. He was your collateral somehow.
Well, hey, moving on to pitchers real quick. It seems like ZiPS likes the depth of this starting rotation, I will say. Cole Reagans, Bubic, Waka, Cameron, and Lugo all project pretty well, according to ZiPS, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, ZiPS isn't, like, excited in the sense where it thinks any of them are going to contend for the Cy Young. But you get some health, a little bit of luck. I mean, obviously some, like, there's a better hope than others. But it sees a lot of guys with a plausible chance of being league average starters. Some are a little below average, but if it's not a particularly, like, high, crazy, there's no Scooble in there. There are a lot of guys that they could patch the holes in the rotation. And in a wild card race, that's frequently enough.
Usually so.
I see Bergert and Kolek both are sub 1 WAR projections. Is that just because of their projected playing time?
Some of it is the playing time. ZiPS is generally conservative with pitchers because pitchers tend to break. I don't think any Royal got a projection of 150 innings.
No,
makes
sense. Most was Waka,
and Waka and Cameron were the only guys who hit that number last year, I believe.
Yeah.
And I just like saying Bubic because it sounds like something my Jewish mom would, like, call me.
Yeah, I told.
What are you doing, Bubic? Like, okay.
I said that name out loud to a friend once who doesn't follow baseball at all, and she's like, but why would a baseball player have Bubic?
I once got that reaction from someone I mentioned when I mentioned there was a player named Coco Crisp.
And Coco Crisp and Milton Bradley at the same time were just, to me, we're like, yes, we're just advertising for popular brands now.
Obviously.
I think Milton Bradley, I actually recognized, if you took the portrait, I'd probably recognize of the actual Milton Bradley, because on, like, some of the old Life games, they actually had people, like fake people on each of the bills. Like Milton Bradley was on the $50,000 bill in the Game of Life, and I think Art Linkletter was on the $100,000 bill.
I never realized that.
And there was someone on the $10,000 bill, which I think was named Hiroshima Mint, but that doesn't really make sense. I'd have to find that. Sorry, I didn't realize we'd be talking about life, or that I would
You
be
didn't
talking
prepare
about
for
life.
this?
No, I didn't. I didn't have my. I don't really prepare for anything because then it gets a little too informative and not insane enough.
A little too informative.
Yeah, I don't want to be too useful. I mean, then I have a standards to uphold.
Oh, yes. We don't like standards around here. Hey, I'm looking at this list of pitchers, and there's one reliever projection here that I'm a little confused by. And it's probably because we haven't seen this version of him in Kansas City. Hunter Harvey, now a free agent. ZiPS just loves what he could possibly do in 2026.
Yeah, if healthy, of course.
Yeah, that's the big kicker. And I think is that like I don't know. I just don't see it. Could you possibly explain why he grades out so well?
I mean, he's a really good bat misser, which is a pretty big deal when you talk about a pitcher. He has really good control for a guy who misses a lot of bats. He's someone who, I mean, he has put it together a few times. I mean, he was actually the Nationals reliever that you didn't hate for a couple years. And the thing is, when you pitch for the Nationals as in the reliever, you're generally going to suck because there's something about, I don't know what in there, if there's like, toxic waste or something in the dugout bench, but everything seemed bad happened to the bullpen. Even when they won the World Series, that was a bad bullpen.
It was.
They basically, winning that World Series was kind of a tour de force because they had pretty much no relievers they could actually trust then. And they just kind of kept throwing their starters out there because they didn't trust anybody in their bullpen.
Nope, absolutely not. And so I bring up that name just to remind folks that when you're looking at these ZiPS projections for the Royals, it will have their free agents, guys who were in the organization or on the 26-man roster for 2025. Their projections are included in here. So don't get too worried when you see Hunter
People will get mad.
Renfroe. Oh, I'm sure people will get mad about Hunter Renfroe in there, Dan.
Yeah, I put a disclaimer at the end because these aren't like, 2026 preseason projections, and I kind of want to stuff everybody. But I always put everyone with whoever their most recent team is. Even if they're retired, they get another year. They went to Japan, they get another year. And people get really annoyed like that. Like Albert Pujols retired. Like, yeah, I remember that because there were 17,000 stories about his quest for presents. Like he got married in the game of life, where everyone has to roll for presents.
Yes.
I tied it all together.
I love it.
You guys are playing a different game of life than I played. I don't know what's going on right now.
No, you don't remember that?
I don't remember. I don't remember that. I don't remember $100,000 bills. I don't remember any of this.
Man. Oh, well, it depends on when the game was made. Like in the 50s, I think the bills were smaller. But I'm not that old. I'm not 70.
Almost 50, Dan.
But there's a point in life where you have to stop to get married, and you roll the magic twirly doohickey machine up.
The wheel, yeah.
The wheel, that's what it's called. And you roll for
first
presents.
dimension, Dan.
And whatever you roll is what people get for you. And then at the end, you get to cash in your kids before retirement, which is really nice. You got
I remember that part.
You got $150,000 per kid. I mean, I'm kind of worried because my mom retired a couple years ago, and no one's come to repossess me or my sister for her $150,000. So I'm kind of
maybe she had enough in savings.
I'm kind of thinking that that's not kind of how life actually works. The game of life
could be.
It's the dramatization of life. It's not really enforceable
if
in
true.
that manner.
Huge, some might say. Jeremy, is there anything on the pitching front that's jumping out to you? Like it looks like projecting a solid bounce back year from Cole Reagans. Not a whole lot of innings from Chris Bubich, though. Unfortunately, your guy.
Yeah, I mean that's not shocking. He hasn't had a fully healthy season since what was it? So it wasn't last
22?
year. 22, I think.
Yeah,
was his last fully healthy season. So yeah, I give everyone a little bit of a sneak preview. I've got a midwinter roster projection, opening day roster projection coming up soon, and I have Chris Bubich in the bullpen just because I wonder if he might stay healthy there. And we all know that after losing Serpa, they don't have a lefty reliever that's worth anything right now. So I think that might be the way they go. We'll have to see. He may not be a Royal by the time we get to the season if some people have their way. I know I look at the the Royals Reddit page, and every trade projection is like, can we get rid of Bubich? And I'm just like, guys, but Bubich is so good.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. I mean, having him in the bullpen probably would be the worst idea ever, especially when you're unsure about his shoulder. I mean, you don't really look at him and think of him as like the traditional like flame-throwing reliever by any stretch of the imagination. But he does, get a lot of swings and misses, which is important.
When he pitched in relief in 24, he got tons of strikeouts, tons of whiffs. So it's not even like, well, most starters get better when they go to the bullpen. We've seen him in the bullpen. He looked good there too. I would rather have him in the rotation. It's just a question of, can he stay healthy and can they find another left-hander? And I actually have them in my midseason roster projection. I'm not going to tell you all who, but I have them signing a free agent left-handed reliever who's not been signed yet, even though almost half of them signed over the weekend. I looked at it and none of the left-handed relievers had signed, and then they'd all signed. It was bizarre.
Not my darling Caleb Thielbar.
Yeah.
Off the free agent block. Goodness gracious.
The guy that remains unsigned that I added to the Royals roster, I think would have been my favorite, even if they were all still available. Except I did like Gregory Soto, but I forgot this guy was a free agent. So,
gotcha. Dan, so you talked about the incomplete kitchen without a floor and a hole where the stove should be. Is any of that incompleteness, does that extend to the pitching side? I know you described the relief core as kind of a bunch of B+ relief options. Is it really lacking that A to A- guy?
I mean, it would be nice. It's a nice to have for sure. I don't know where they're going to necessarily get one at this point. I think what you do is you kind of maybe focus on kind of the back end of the bullpen. ZiPS is less excited about when you talk about the 6th, 7th, or 8th relievers. And you don't necessarily have to spend a lot there just to get a couple, just the dudes back there. And I think that will probably be enough.
Okay.
Obviously, if a crazy lights out reliever falls in your lap, you might take it, but I don't think that's necessarily a crippling thing.
I got
you.
I got an out of left field question for you, Dan.
Is it about a left fielder?
No, not yet, not this time. It's about a left-handed reliever.
Why is he in the left field then? That's the problem.
He's
You're playing him in the outfield.
He's in the bullpen.
It's out of the bullpen.
Okay.
You don't have a Dodgers projection yet, but I heard this wild rumor that the Dodgers might trade Tanner Scott to the Royals. I think there's a 1% chance of that happening. But have you run the projections for Tanner Scott yet? Does he seem like a guy who could bounce back at all this year?
ZiPS does have him. He does have a good chance of bouncing back, at least according to ZiPS. Obviously, it gives him a pretty big hit from 2025. But he is an interesting bounce back candidate. I think my big problem, I guess, when you talk about a Tanner Scott bounce back, is if the Dodgers didn't figure it out, who is? Because the Dodgers are really, really good at fixing these kind of guys. I mean, you look at their pitching staff and they pretty much accumulate injured pitchers or someone with a problem and they just turn it around. And if they really want to get rid of him, it makes me wonder why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if someone gave me a problem and said a famous Nobel Prize scientist solved this, couldn't solve this, can you? I'd say, dear God, no. Why do you think I could? What are you doing to me? I'm not going to solve that. I'm just a guy who does stuff.
It just does baseball stuff.
Just does baseball stuff. I just use my math major in weird ways.
All right. So I've got kind of an overall question. Can we move to kind of overall ideas, Jacob?
Yeah, I like denim. Denim is the best material for overall.
Denim on denim.
Excellent. Man, right. Back on topic. The Royals, the ZiPS, you had them for 82 to 86 wins, it looks like here. I assume they go up maybe a little bit with Isaac Collins, maybe to 83.
Yeah, I could knock them up 3/4 of a win to win. Say 82 to 87 now.
Okay. What if the Royals could make one move to upgrade one position? What position should it be? Should they be looking at another reliever? Should they be looking at second base? Should they be looking still in the outfield? What do you think based on what you're seeing in ZiPS?
Well, I guess the question is, does it have to be a plausible?
No, I don't think so.
Because I like the outfielders they have, but I think that they could figure out how to put, Kyle Tucker in the lineup. They're not going to, of course. And I think the team that pays Kyle Tucker is going
All right, people, serious question time. Did you know that driving high is considered driving under the influence? That's right. Driving under the influence of marijuana is against the law in every state. That means even in states where marijuana is legal. That means driving high could get you a DUI. And if you think law enforcement officers can't tell when you're driving high, well, you're wrong. If you're high, they can tell. Your friends can tell. Your coworkers can tell. Even your parents can tell. Everyone can tell. So what makes you think that law enforcement officers don't know when you're driving high? You'd be wrong. They can tell too. Driving under the influence of marijuana can slow your response time and change how you perceive time and speed. So even if you think you're fine to drive when you're high, you're not. Because the bottom line is, if you feel different, you drive different, and driving high is driving under the influence. So remember, drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
This is Michael Rosenbaum. Hey, folks, let me tell you that drinking and driving is a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI, because legal fees and time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You could face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world, whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. Always plan for a safe ride home. The only decision that will change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. It's never worth it to drive drunk. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
To regret it like in 4 or 5 years.
Probably.
But you look at where the Royals are likely in wins. The upside of winning additional games is so frigging massive here. They're like in super leverage territory in the best division where these mid-80s wins can matter. That would be a lot of fun. Obviously, they won't do that, and it's hard to really blame them because it's hard to sell someone, you should spend $350 million or $400 million on this guy, and you're going to be really unhappy about $200 million of that. It's a pretty tall order to tell a team.
Yeah.
Because, I don't have $400 million to spend.
So Kyle Tucker, not Bo Bichette.
Yeah, I don't think Bo Bichette is as good a fit unless he wants to play second base.
The rumor is that he's telling people he'll play second base.
Yeah.
Well, then that might actually be the most interesting thing. I mean, I'm not a Michael Massey hater, but Bo Bichette's a lot better.
Yeah, that is.
Plus, I can make all the Star Wars jokes. I love making Bo Bichette jokes.
Yeah.
I like that.
Speaking of second base, we haven't talked about Jonathan India at all, and I was surprised when I saw the projection for him almost as much as the projections for the outfielders, maybe probably about as much as the outfielders. You've got him in here, or ZiPS has him in here for a 98 OPS plus. I'm still doing WRC plus. A 98 OPS plus. Like,
I mean, they're very close, WPS plus and
yeah,
WRC plus.
He's projected to basically be a league average hitter, which is less than what the Royals hoped for when they traded for him, but would be a lot better than what they got from him last year.
Yeah, last year was not good. It didn't really help that his defense has kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
I mean, he was never a great second baseman, but I don't think he's a good enough defensive player that you want to use him as a super sub. I would think that I've tended to think the Royals have been a little too cute with him. You look at some of his secondary numbers, and he probably should have hit for more power than he actually did.
Okay.
And I think that if you're going to have him on the team, you just stick him at second base.
Yeah.
And don't pretend he's a corner outfielder or any of that stuff. And I think he'll be okay there. Steamer has him at a 102 WRC plus. So it's
okay.
It still also thinks that there's something there.
All right. That's good to
Were
hear.
the Royals secretly smart to bring him back, to tender him?
I think so, because you're not really talking a lot of money. I mean, $8 million. I mean, you don't get a lot there's not a lot of good players you can sign for 1 year, $8 million, especially one that's projected to have a WRC plus around 100.
Yeah. All right. Well, that actually makes me feel a lot better, because
now if they got Bo Bichette, and then you start talking about trading India,
right?
Yeah.
Maybe someone who thinks that they can really unlock him. But I don't think they're going to get Bo Bichette.
Probably
so
not.
Probably at my point.
No matter how hard I dream.
It is a nice dream to have, though, I will say.
Oh gosh, I had another question. Oh, so my next question is, who should lead off for this team? Because when the Royals signed or traded for Isaac Collins, a lot of people looked at his OBP and said he should be the new leadoff guy. And a lot of other people said, I don't know, he's probably going to regress. Don't lead him off. Is it him? Is it Jonathan India? Is it Michael Garcia?
I think Garcia is the best candidate.
All right.
Think because Pasquantino, Pasquatch is not going to be a high on base percentage guy, but he has power. So you're going to put him you're going to put him third, pretty much. I think. I don't know. You probably know better than I.
Yeah, that's where I expect him to be for sure.
That's where you put your on base percentage high slugger, because the third position leads off the fewest innings of any position in the lineup.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
interesting.
You put Pasquantino there because they're always guaranteed, or almost guaranteed, they can hit around, but they're almost guaranteed to not lead off in the first inning, first time that they're up. While, the fourth guy, if it's Sal Perez, he will lead off a pretty good percentage of the time in the second inning, just because 3 up, 3 down is a common outcome, especially in a low batting average league. I think you get Garcia they'll get on base a lot. They'll move on base a lot. Get Pasquantino, get off to those 2-0, 3-0 leads. That's how I would do it. Top load it, Perez, Caglione, and then whatever after that.
So the Royals last year had Michael Garcia batting fourth most of the time. So who should Jonathan India and Isaac Collins don't make sense to me as the number 4 guy in any lineup. So who would you put cleanup, do you think?
It's probably Perez, I would imagine. I don't think you're going to do it with Caglione, especially after the year he had.
Yeah.
I think you're probably going to start him off. Because lineups are weird in that they don't make a huge amount of difference from an analytical standpoint, but sometimes it does make a difference to the players, because the players consider lineup spots a lot more important than they actually are. So there's a psychological thing there that you show trust with the guy by putting him higher in the lineup, or reduce pressure by lowering them in the lineup. So I kind of think that's kind of a weird analytical position, but it actually probably does matter a bit in the margins.
I've been sitting here. Salvi batted 5th for most of last year after Michael moved up to 4th. And I've been trying so hard to move him down to 6th. I'm like, Salvi would be such a great 6 hitter. I hate watching his sub 300 OBP batting 4th and 5th. It just kills me inside.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's going to have the guys on base for him. There's not a lot of power at the bottom of the Royals lineup that he's going to necessarily get the most juice out of being on base.
So let's go back to Isaac Collins for a second, because I feel like there's more to dig into there. He's got the high OBP. He's kind of old for a rookie last year. He was 27, 28. And a lot of people said, oh, he's going to regress. And sure, I mean, I think he's a regression candidate. I think when you did the Brewers, you even said he was a regression candidate, but you also said he's probably still a starter quality guy. What if he doesn't hit for much power? Is it just the OBP that carries Isaac Collins' value, or how does that all work?
Well, I think you might need a platoon situation for him, depending on how he's hitting. He does draw a lot of walks. Even when things aren't going well, he draws for a lot of walks. You don't really want him against.
Okay.
He's just he's one of those guys who's a switch hitter, and you wonder, maybe they should stop switch hitting. There's always some guys like that. But I think that you'd have a platoon guy, and you look at him in the minors, and he always, even when things were going bad, he always got on base against against righties, excuse me. And I think that if you can't find a use for a guy who would draw a ton of walks against the most common batters they face, I would ask, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
How good is your team if you can't find room for him? And the thing is he wasn't really flexible in the majors, but he does have some experience playing the infield. Not good experience, but he can fake it enough that you could probably put him there a couple times here and there, like you saw a few times with Steve Pearce some years ago. But there are some creative things you can do with him.
So let's say the Royals do sign, just because the world is turned upside down, they sign Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger. Does Isaac Collins move to the infield, or does he just become a 4th outfielder?
Oh, he becomes a 4th outfield.
Okay.
In that crazy scenario where you have Caglione, Bellinger, and Tucker, yeah, you'll be happy enough to it's like you can be happy enough. You can get some playoff share money.
Heck yeah. Well, hey guys, is there anything else we want to touch on Royals related before we move on to Royals reviews? Going once.
The Royals are going to bring back Adam Frazier, obviously. I think this is obvious to everyone. Should we all be excited about that?
Well, no.
There we go.
See, Adam Frazier at this point in his career, he's one of those players. You look at someone's roster in June, and you're surprised that he still plays baseball. You're like, oh, someone signed Adam Frazier.
That's how I felt about Jason Hayward.
Yes. My
Like,
goodness.
He's still playing? That's weird. That's funky. All right, listen, guys. First off, Dan, thank you for. I know you have still a good amount of ZiPS articles to come out, so folks can still get caught up on the ones that have come out when they go check out the Royals article up on Fangraphs.com. The Royals specific one will be linked in the podcast description below. So, Dan, as always, thank you for your hard work on ZiPS.
Well, thank you for having me, sirs.
You are very welcome.
Oh, I got some. Actually, it's good timing. My sister got me some Joe's barbecue for Christmas, and I just got a big chest of it an hour before I came on. It's in my fridge and freezer now. There's like 3 full slabs of ribs.
Dang. Okay. I'm jealous.
Bourdain's, brisket, pulled pork. I'm happy.
How do I become friends with your sister?
Yeah.
Well, Dan, since you are our guest, would you mind leading off tonight's Royals reviews?
Okay. What are we reviewing this time?
Whatever you want.
Well, I kind of guessed it was going to be an RPG or some sort of game, but you've already talked about life so much.
Well, we talked about it beforehand, but I've been playing through the Yakuza games.
Yeah.
And I've really been enjoying the Yakuza games. They were games that I hadn't just got, because, I have a Steam, like a lot of gamer types who also have money to spend on games. I have a pretty large queue that I have to live to be about 130 to actually play everything. And I saw Pirate Yakuza come out earlier. Was it this year or was it last year?
Yes, it was earlier this year. Feels
Okay,
like
it was this
forever
year.
ago.
And it looked a lot of fun, but, I didn't want to play the 10 millionth game in a series without experiencing the series. So I've been playing through the Yakuza games, and I've had a lot of fun with them. I love the campiness. I love the melodrama. I love how Kiryu, he solves lots of problems. There are all these sub stories in the game, like little mini quests, and there's a whole wide array of problems that he solves by getting in a fist fight with someone.
Of course.
And even when it doesn't make any logical sense, it'll end with you fighting someone and beating them up in their office and hitting them with chairs, because that's how it works. So I have enjoyed it. I like the whole beat 'em up genre. I love Double Dragon as a kid. I played the hell out of River City Ransom for those who have played that game. Those were so fun, and the Yakuza games scratch that itch. And as I told him earlier, I'm also picking up a little, because there's no English dub, so I'm picking up a little bit of Japanese that can mainly be used to threaten people in fights. So I'm learning a new language in a very specific niche way.
Yeah,
That's one way to do it.
Our regular listeners will remember that I at some point reviewed all of the different Yakuza games. I think I'm a huge fan of those. So I'm glad you're playing those, and the same way that I have to come to you and talk to you about the Trails games.
Yeah, and there's another one coming out.
Yakuza games.
And there's another one coming out.
Yeah.
1 month from now.
Yeah, I still need to get on the Trails in the Sky remake. Have you played that one yet?
I've long finished that, of course.
Is that am I, as a person who obviously loves the original Trails in the Sky, am I going to love it?
It's a great game. They keep everything. It's not like Final Fantasy Remake in which they reimagine it. It's pretty much like the maps are the same. The monsters are in the same places, except they really change the factor, and there's a lot more quality of life things that are more annoying. Like everything,
you could use those, yeah, for sure.
But everything that you remember, if you didn't have to do the quests in the original, you still know how to do the quests there. Like early on, when you're at the TO, when you're at the Purcell farm, when you're just become a bracer, and you have to kill or stop the things that were eating their crops, and there was this obnoxious thing where it doesn't tell you how to do it. It still doesn't tell you how to do it, and you still lose the points if you don't sneak up on those little things. And it's like the same thing. There's like a couple new quests, but Olivier is just as flamboyant and even better when he's fully voiced.
It's Matt Mercer still, right?
Yeah, it's still. Oh, they brought in most of the original voices. I mean, they still have Johnny Bosch, whatever his, I forget. Johnny Dembosch?
Johnny Young Bosch, yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Young Bosch, that's it. I mean, he's doing the voice, so they actually had a pretty good budget, because he's actually in a lot more demand than he was back when he originally recorded it. But no, it's a good game. And when you play, I keep calling it Kaino Kaseki, but no, it's trails beyond the horizon, above the horizon, near the horizon, something horizon
Yeah.
related.
Into the horizon?
Yeah, you will actually be caught up for it because I keep wanting to talk and I'm just very careful about spoilers
Right.
when I talk trails with you because I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, I'm
very
have
careful.
You said it's coming out in a month. I may have to hold off on the Sky remake until after Horizon so that I could play that as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It answers for anyone who plays the Trails games. The Horizon game answers a lot of very long-term questions about
There are so many.
the world, the nature of existence. It ties up a couple things from the Sky games.
Wow.
And you get Kevin, you get Reen, you get lots of people.
Right.
You get Crow too. I was never really into Crow. I thought Crow was kind of a dick.
I like his VA, but that's about it.
Yeah, I thought the character was kind of I was at the risk of spoiling people, I was really disappointed with they didn't just leave him dead.
Yeah. You would be. I
because
wouldn't be. I
that
don't want
was-
anyone to ever die.
I think some people need to die so that you can appreciate the people that live, but Trails Through Cold Steel was a little too much of the Falcom trope of they will forgive pretty much anything. This guy tried to assassinate the Chancellor.
Yeah, but the
giving
Chancellor was a bad
speech.
guy.
Yeah, but you still can't shoot him. Everything forgiven. I mean, all these people who've committed mass murders and they're
I gotta be
assassins.
careful what I
and-
say about shooting
Yes.
politicians that are also evil.
Yeah, but there are a
Correct.
lot. I mean, there are a lot of assassins in those Falcom games who are just kind of okay. You're not killing people anymore. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's just too many guys that come back from the dead. I'm glad that they did actually kill a few people off for good in Cold Steel 4. But I think there were places where that makes the deaths a little cheaper when they do the magic.
Fair enough. You're allowed to think
Fair
that.
enough.
Yeah, so that was my very long review of Yakuza.
Yeah, how do we end up here?
I
But
mean,
hey,
I
that's-
wasn't going to let you get out of here without talking about Trails a little bit.
Absolutely not. And anyone who's listened to the podcast before knows this is usually how these episodes with Dan end.
We had
and that is
one.
okay.
I swear, one of these interviews we did, half of it was Trails.
That's how it was. Yeah.
Because it's such a niche game that I love when I can talk with people who are into Trails.
Exactly. Yes.
Like Kevin Goldstein, the of the Astros and the Twins. He's into the games, but he's behind. And I
Catch
haven't
up,
caught up,
Kevin.
so I can't bother him as much.
Sure you can. Or at least you could try to. Jeremy, do you have a review for us this
I
evening?
do. So I recently saw the trailer for the Project Hail Mary or the Hail Mary Project.
Yes.
And I was like, man, that looks really good. And then it was like by the same person who did, I don't remember if it was directed or wrote The Martian.
Yep. The same guy, the author.
And I've never seen The Martian.
Ooh.
So I booted up The Martian and I watched The Martian. And I've always been a space kid, space cadet in that old slang for a person who's not fully with it. That's me for sure. Also, I grew up I was obsessed with space. I mean, I grew up a Trekkie, but I was also obsessed with NASA. And I was like, for a little while, I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I found out.
Okay, you were a Trekkie, so that's the question I ask everybody. How did you survive through the early episodes of The Next Generation while still being a Trekkie? Because
I didn't watch them.
Oh, that's the best way to do it. I'm still kind of traumatized
I
by
went
some of
back
those
and watched
first two
them later,
seasons.
but I
Like,
caught
how
it.
do you-
I
how
jumped
do you
into
feel-
TNG halfway through.
How-
I can I plead the fifth on that one?
No, I want to know how you feel about the Space Irish episode. That was bad. That almost killed not just Star Trek, but science fiction.
They're trying their hardest to tell stories that are interesting and are leading to a brighter, more positive future for humanity, and they don't always.
All right, people, serious question time. Did you know that driving high is considered driving under the influence? That's right. Driving under the influence of marijuana is against the law in every state. That means even in states where marijuana is legal. That means driving high could get you a DUI. And if you think law enforcement officers can't tell when you're driving high, well, you're wrong. If you're high, they can tell. Your friends can tell. Your coworkers can tell. Even your parents can tell. Everyone can tell. So what makes you think that law enforcement officers don't know when you're driving high? You'd be wrong. They can tell too. Driving under the influence of marijuana can slow your response time and change how you perceive time and speed. So even if you think you're fine to drive when you're high, you're not. Because the bottom line is, if you feel different, you drive different, and driving high is driving under the influence. So remember, drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Drinking and driving is a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI, because legal fees and time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You could face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world, whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. Always plan for a safe ride home. The only decision that'll change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. It's never worth it to drive drunk. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Just get it right.
Well,
So
they went to
sometimes
Space
you just go,
Irish.
yeah, that episode didn't age as well as some of the others, and then you move on.
See, when I come across that episode again, when I have thing like a binge, I think that if I developed the technology of faster than light speed, and I saw that episode before I revealed it to the world, I would destroy my invention to prevent that world from ever happening. I was so disappointed in that episode where Wesley walked on the grass and destroyed some crops and they didn't execute him. I think it would have been fair if they had executed him.
Wesley's not that bad.
He is that bad.
No.
That action was that bad, at least.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm trampling on your review, but
it's fine.
Just like the crops.
I hear Star Trek, and I want to talk about Space Irish.
Fair enough. Yeah, so it's funny because I would not have remembered what you were talking about, but I just recently watched a YouTube video that mentioned them. So I was like, oh yeah, those guys. Right. So I've always been a space kid, thought I wanted to be an astronaut till I saw what astronaut toilets looked like, and I was like, that's too scary for me.
What about astronaut ice cream?
Well, you can get astronaut ice cream on the ground, so I did that, and so somehow I didn't watch The Martian until earlier this week, but I finally watched it, and I was like, man, this is so cool, and it's so well acted, and the story is really interesting, but also that's how NASA would do all of that stuff based on all the research I've done into NASA in my life. And I love like watching them like when they tell him he needs to drill a hole in the top of his rover, like they've got a model rover that they're drilling a hole in to make sure that will do what they think it will do. And they're doing all the math and they're doing all this stuff. And it's just so cool. It's so cool to me to be like, yes, this is, I mean, it's not 100% realistic, but there's enough realism there that I was absolutely absorbed into it. And I think I worried that it wouldn't be an interesting movie because it would just be, because real space travel can be kind of dull in a movie sense, even though it's very dramatic in a historical sense or very dramatic to live through. It can be a little bit like, you're just checking things off of lists, but they made it really dramatic and really thrilling. They gave it there was some real sense of what's going to happen next. Are they going to be able to figure this out? And they without hammering too far into science fiction and making things go too fast or be too science fiction-y. So this is a really great movie, and I'm looking forward to Project Hail Mary even more now.
Now, have you ever actually played the game Kerbal Space Program?
I have not. I've not even heard of that one.
You should look that up. It's this space flight simulation game where you kind of make experimental space things for little green aliens. Look up Kerbal Space Program.
Okay.
It's probably really cheap on Steam right now because it's like a decade old.
I'm a console
but
guy.
It's one of those weird things that it might tickle your fancy.
Are you advocating for Jeremy's Steam library to get even bigger, Dan?
Yes, that's what I do.
Oh, it's on PlayStation, so we're good. I can.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I just got a quick review.
That'll be a first.
I don't know, right? It would be a first. Katie and I, we just finished up watching through season 1 of Stranger Things again. This was like the first show that I remember I just lost interest in after it did like the whole very lengthy break between seasons.
Mm-hmm.
It killed the momentum for me. So we went back, we rewatched season 1. now I kind of like understand why it was such a popular show at the time, because it's very well put together, very coherent plot. I very much enjoyed it. I haven't seen anything past season 1. So everything
You
from here
don't
on
need
out
to.
is new for me.
You don't have to.
I don't need to. I don't have to. I would like to though now. That's the
Okay.
thing.
I mean,
We'll see how it goes. But I thought it was very fun, and I'm going to be watching season 2 probably later on tonight.
cool.
All right, guys.
Anything about Stranger Things, Dan?
No, I have actually not seen that yet, believe it or not.
Fair enough.
It
was
yeah,
one of
That's
the
a weird
first
thing.
shows that was a streaming television show, like streaming first. So I watched it when it first came out, and I haven't seen it since. I should probably go back and rewatch the first 4 seasons. I'm gonna watch the 5th season. I'm gonna be disappointed in it when I'm done, I'm pretty sure. But I'm gonna watch it. I gotta finish it now. So I probably should go back and watch the first 4 seasons to be like, what the heck was going on again?
Yeah, because I certainly did not remember at all. All right, guys. Well, Dan Szymborski, everyone, thank you again for joining us. I know that was a lot, but make sure you go check out the ZiPS article up on Fangraphs.com for everything on the Royals in the system. Dan, thank you for joining us this evening, and Jeremy, thank you for setting it up. Dan, where can folks, if they want to bother you on social media, where can they find you at?
They can find me at D Szymborski on Twitter and Dan Szymborski on Blue Sky. I have mixed feelings about both formats. See, it seems like half the people who drive me nuts are on one platform and half the people who drive me nuts are on the other platform. I haven't figured out how to kind of get them to all agree to find like a third platform that they all go to that I don't have to go to. But that's a whole other discussion.
Is it still possible to summon you Beetlejuice style?
Not in like the SB Nation blogs, because they kind of changed the API, so you can't search comments anymore. So Reddit people can summon me, or you could just message me on social media, which is probably the easiest.
I could, but it's fun to remember that we used to be able to summon you into the Royals review comments by just saying your name 3 times.
Szymborski.
Yeah, but sadly, when they changed the comment format,
Yeah.
you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm only so clever at self-absorption. I mean, I am a journalist, so there is going to be some kind of level of self-absorbment.
Yeah, that makes
involved.
sense.
It comes with the job.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're writing something for a living, you're basically saying, "Listen to me as the voice in your head as you read what I write.
My thoughts are
and
important enough.
ignore
that
the
you
voice
should-
in your head,
Yeah.
and listen to me and my high-pitched nasally voice, which you are now hearing inside your head."
Yes.
Now I will give you my baseball article with lots of random historical and pop culture references.
But that's how we like it, Dan.
Absolutely.
That's how we like our baseball articles.
Hey, for science, I did the Arizona Diamondbacks ZiPS today,
Mm-hmm.
and since there was Blaze Alexander,
Yeah.
I decided to make the cocktail of Blaze Alexander, which is a brandy Alexander, but with Fireball instead of cognac, and it's really, really bad. I don't. Have you guys had a brandy Alexander before? It's
No.
equal parts cognac, creme de cacao, and cream. And when you change it,
sounds
then it's
terrible.
Fireball, cinnamon whiskey, and creme de cacao
I
and
don't
cream.
like Fireball. Yeah.
Well, I don't really like it either. Someone left it here, and I don't know what to do with it. Like I'm going to sit around and drink Fireball. So I tried
least
to
you
make
tried.
a cocktail called a Blaze Alexander, and I can report for science while I was writing my Diamondbacks piece that I drank one, and it was really bad. Cinnamon whiskey and creme de cacao do not go together in my book.
The
I
more you
believe
know.
you.
Yes. I will not be testing that out. I will
That could
take
be my
your
review.
conclusion.
That could be my second Royal review.
Perfect.
Now you're on board. You're
Yes.
right there where we need you. You're right in the middle, right where we need you.
Right in the sweet spot.
Yeah, that's the term I was looking for.
Yes. All right, folks. Before we leave that sweet spot, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to follow along with Dan's work or go check it out, all the links are down in the podcast description below. Or if you want to follow along with our work, those links are down there too. We would greatly appreciate it. And we got a long off season still ahead of us. Got the holidays just around the corner. So make sure you subscribe or follow the podcast wherever you're listening to us at. Well, once again, I'm Jake Milham. They're Jeremy Greco. He is Dan Szymborski. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And until next time, go Royals.
Happy holidays. Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a happy holiday. If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.